Well, Clint, nice to spend some time with you today. And I have to say, although I've done a lot of business with Hagedon, this is the first time I've ever driven completely around your facility. It's a large building with a lot of staff.
Yeah, thanks.
Tell us about your company.
Well, we have 100,000 square feet out here in Kalihi. We have about 130 employees. Well, we have 7 specific business units here. H1 is the electronic division, so all things digital. We do large run web printing, we do sheet fed printing, we do digital printing, we have a full service bindery and a mail house. In addition to those digital services that I mentioned, and specialty printing, hats, pins, t-shirts, mugs, those kinds of things. A lot of the major publishers in the state utilize us for printing or distribution. Like Pac Basin is a huge client of ours. We do all of their magazines.
Does a company have to have a certain size order to come to you?
Absolutely not. We can print 1 or 1 million.
And you offer a lot of bonuses because everything's done locally too. I mean, bonuses in speed and efficiency and that type of thing, right?
We do. Our turnaround time is really quick. You don't have to wait for it to come back from the mainland, which is always a plus. And all of these dollars are local.
Tell us a little bit about Hagedon. First of all, I've always wondered what the name is about, so you have to explain that to me. And how long have they been around?
The Hagedons have actually been in Hawaii since the 60s. Originally, they owned a few small newspapers and radio stations. Then they purchased This Week magazine, which was and still is the state's largest tourism magazine and publication. And in 1996, they purchased 6 outside companies and consolidated them into one, calling it Hagedon Printing.
Tell me about your recycling program.
Well, we are the only company in the state of Hawaii that recycles glossy paper. So not only do we recycle our own waste, we take it from the public every second Saturday. So what we do, obviously we grind it all up and put it into a big bale, load up several containers a month and ship it off for recycling. And it usually comes back to the U.S. as corrugated cardboard.
That's probably at an expense to you because that's not cheap to do,
It is, but it keeps about 8 containers of waste out of our local landfill that we generate on a monthly basis, which is a lot of waste. It's a lot of tonnage of paper. So the community service aspect of taking it from folks now, you don't have to throw it away, you didn't know what to do with it. And we generate a lot of waste paper from the general public.
How does the recycling process work?
Well, all of our equipment is hooked up to basically a central vacuum system. So as we trim and cut all of the projects that are coming off the presses, it's sucked into a giant shredder which cuts it all up and puts it in a great big bale. From there, the bale is loaded into the container and shipped out to recycling.
What's the balance these days when you run a printing company, and I know you're really getting into the technology side as well, is it about 50-50? Are people still printing as much? How's that going?
Well, that's a great question. I think the balance right now is about 75-25. Most people are still printing the traditional projects that they always did. Print will always be alive. We need that tangible experience, I think, as human beings. But the flip side of that is that we consume information so differently. I mean, if you even think about your own habits in the last 10 years, what you do in the morning to see what's going on in the world is a lot different than it used to be. So the electronic component is becoming more and more important to each one of our advertisers. As their sophistication level is growing, as they're trying to reach a more defined audience and not necessarily the general population, which is a lot more cost effective, by the way. So we're seeing between 15 to 25% of folks' budget being really reallocated to the electronic side of what their marketing plan is. So we're trying to be there for them and provide them those solutions.
So you've had 4 years at the helm now. What are your hopes or sort of visions for where you'd like to go from here?
I really believe that we have to continue to change too. Our clients' mindsets are always changing, their strategies are always changing, their market and their end users and customers are always changing. So being there for our clients, electronically, in print, having the most state-of-the-art equipment for them, being technologically on the edge for them so that we can always provide a high level of customer service and quality. As our market changes and those needs change, we need to make sure that we are financially sound and stable so we can continue to grow and change with them to provide that local solution to our customers' printed collateral and electronic collateral needs.
So you also mentioned you're really proud of your efforts to be green. Can you share more on that?
Yeah, absolutely. We are certified by Nature Office, which is a global organization that looks at carbon sequestration. We offer our clients the ability to carbon offset every printing job that they do. With that certification process, we know that if it touches specific equipment or runs through the shop in specific amounts of time, that we can allow those customers to basically offset that entire job. We work with Hawaiian Legacy Hardwoods, so all those carbon offset credits are basically turned back into koa trees and koa reforestation on the Hamakua coast on the Big Island. So we're really proud of that project. We also have about 1,800 solar panels on the roof here in our facility in Kalihi that offsets a large portion of our power consumption.
How does the carbon offset process work?
Basically, carbon offsetting is all about carbon sequestration. So the carbon footprint that we created by driving to work today can be offset basically by planting, in this case, specific number of koa trees that over the course of their lifetime basically turn that carbon back into oxygen. So not only can you print locally and do all of those things here, but you can make sure that you're not leaving a lasting footprint by doing it.
Getting back to community service, I'm sure, just as in any market, the challenges to keep your profit margin are always there, and yet Hagedon has never backed off on its commitment to helping and giving and being philanthropic. Why is that so important?
I think it's very important for us to be very heavily involved in the community, because it's the community, obviously, that supports us too. 98% of our business comes from the state of Hawaii. So for us not to give back to the community that, you know, basically supports 130 families in our company would be sort of silly. You know, we've watched a lot of companies over the last couple of years back off on their giving and back off on their sponsorships and programs. And I absolutely understand why. You know, sometimes it's a very difficult decision for us, what we choose to continue to support and at what level. But it really comes down to, at the end of the day, what's the long-term benefit for this company and the families that depend on our viability in the future. Most people that know what I do don't really think about my industry, right? They think about our involvement in the community or things, projects that we've been present at. You know, that's what they remember. And I think that means something, especially here in Hawaii. That's a big deal. Our community is the most important thing that we have. So we have to protect it, and we have to make sure that it's healthy, right?
And when you use your expertise to help create a moving piece of collateral for a cause and stuff, there must be a lot of satisfaction in that as well.
There is. It's always nice to see our work being used to, you know, strengthen a school or raise money for a really good cause. And people are eternally grateful for those things. And that's something that is really critically important to us.